Children, this is the story of our freedom, story of our freedom movement. The nation became independent on the 15th of August 1947. You all know it well that we were being ruled by the British till then. We were under foreign yoke. India had continuously foreigners attacking us from the northwest. Then the Portuguese, the Dutch, the English, they all came. And the English were successful in getting control of the nation. In the beginning, we did not know much about it. But as years passed on, as Indians got educated, they felt a need for a national government. They felt a need to make the country free from foreign yoke. Then the struggle started. You know the sacrifices. We will try to collect more information on that now. 1857 you have studied this year. 1857 we had the first Indian freedom struggle, and the names of Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai figures the topmost there. We all get excited when we hear her name, the ultimate sacrifice she had done to the nation. Lots of other kings and commoners too participated in the 1857 struggle. But most of the kings then, they did not have the idea of one nation. They fought the struggle to see that their interests turned to be safe. They fought to see that the British are subdued and their kingdom's freedom is saved, protected. It was after 1857 things started taking a change. The English East India Company was sent home. Their control over India, it got terminated. The British government decided to withdraw the East India Company from possessing any control over our country. Then who took over? The Queen of England. She took the control of India directly into her hands. So Queen Victoria became the ultimate head for India. She, on the strength of the advice of her parliament and the Prime Minister and the cabinet, she ruled India. Different India Acts too got proclaimed. Here in India too, there was a wave, a wind of change. Transportation slowly started getting improved. Roads were constructed from one place to the other because the British wanted to move their forces, not with an interest to help India. Their military regiments have to move, no. So transportation improved a bit. Communication improved. Railways started. So slowly and steadily, India started seeing a wave of change. English education spread here. The British wanted to educate Indians, teach them the basic English and basic maths in order to get them employed in the offices, British offices. So the English education started getting spread. As the Indians started getting educated, they started thinking about the future of India too. They started reading books written by authors abroad. And they started knowing as to how a nation has to be run. What is freedom? What's democracy? Individual versus state. How much of power should vest with the state? And what all rights should the citizen possess? What should be the relation between the two? How should a country be run? So some of the educated people in the country, especially in Chennai, Bombay, Kolkata, we call Madras, Chennai as Madras, then Madras, Bombay, Kolkata, they all started thinking in terms of what this country needs. The British never thought of that. The British were interested in making wealth here and taking it to England. The British were interested in seeing that the industries in England prosper. The industries in England, they were in need of raw materials. Mainly, they wanted cotton from India. Cotton doesn't grow in England. Cotton has to be imported into England. In India, we had black soil. Cotton grew very well here. So they thought of somehow smashing the Indian cottage industries and seeing that all the cotton that is grown in India is exported to England from here. They are the import. For us, it's export. They import it into England. There in the mills. Then the machines that they had newly invented, they wanted to turn these cotton into mill clothes. Those mills were running day and night in shifts. Labor were being meagerly paid. It was exploitation of the poor. The country made wealth. The government there made wealth. And those beautiful mill clothes, soft mill clothes, had worldwide market. India itself was a big market for them. Those clothes would come to India. Those clothes will cost less than the indigenously made clothes here. Indigenously made cottage industry clothes were rough, very rough. But these mill clothes were very smooth and soft. Automatically, the cheaper mill clothes got the market. The Indian cottage industry suffered. It did not take too much of time to understand all these problems. The educated understood. They had started some newspapers too. They started writing articles there. They had started educating the public commoners. And they used to even come in contact with people and explain to them as to where we are going wrong. How is India becoming a poorer and a still poorer nation in the hands of these foreigners? This totalitarian government of the British is not going to promote Indian interests. Ultimately, people have to get convinced. If this has to turn into a people's movement, then you have to convince people. They should know what all problems are we facing because of a foreign rule here. Educated people, they started coming together. And in 1885, a very important for India, Congress was founded. Indian National Congress was founded in 1885. Who founded it? a retired ICS officer, a retired British officer in India by name Alan Octavian Hume. In short, you can call him A.O. Hume. He started Indian National Congress. He founded it along with the Indian companions, friends, in 1885. W.C. Banerjee, Vyoma Chandra Banerjee, he became the first president of INC. What is the benefit? Any association or organization, when it gets started, it will have an object. It will have a vision. The vision was not to find fault with the British. The vision was to bring about unity among the people of India. That was more than enough. There was no unity then. People should think on identical lines. They should understand each other. People should feel we are one nation. Ultimately, we are one nation. And this you cannot generate overnight. It will take decades together. That job was started by the Indian National Congress. The British too never thought Congress would turn to be their major foe later on. So everything starts with nationalism. I should feel, now we say nation first. We should serve our nation. My India, it should be strong. Atmanirbharata. We speak of all this. What do all this mean? Ultimately, it's nationalism. We feel proud about our nation. So this Indian National Congress started injecting that fervor into the blood of the people. Building a force here. In 1885 it started. The next 20 years was that formative period. 20 years. Let's say 1885. We call it 1885 to 1905. The latter part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. That those 20 years, there 2 decades were the formative period. All the leaders of the Congress were moderate then, very cool-minded, very patient. They were educating the people. Whatever demands they had, they used to put it across the government with folded hands. They used to pray the British government, please get it done for us. We are in need of this. They used to pray. Not as a matter of right they asked anything. They used to put their demands with their prayer. You can very well understand with this sentence. With the prayer. No assertion. No might behind it. 1885 to 1905. These 20 years. Why 1905? I'll tell you. 1905. 1905. We can even say that 0 is fashionably read as O. 1905. You too can read like that. 1905. Division of Bengal. The British sensed that lot of people have started loving their nation so much that their love for the nation, their unity may stand as a mountain, a rock against the British interests. Bengal should not be allowed to stay as one single piece. You know, Bengal is the part where the Brahmaputra and Ganga rivers join the sea, Bay of Bengal. There you have Bengal. There's a big state there. The present Bangladesh and our West Bengal, put them together. That was the Bengal then. The present Bangladesh and our West Bengal, put them together. That was the erstwhile Bengal state. The British had control over that, no doubt. And This Bengal, if you divide it into two, the west and the east, there's a lot of difference between the two. The West Bengal was full of Hindus. Western part of Bengal, that is the part which is with India now as a state, was full of Hindus. Most of the people were Hindus. Majority were Hindus. And in the East Bengal part, people were Muslims. Majority were Muslims. These Muslims and Hindus should not be allowed to stay unified. This was the new thought that emerged in the brains of the British rulers. They thought of dividing them. They said, by an ordinance, the governor declared Bengal is divided into two, East Bengal and West Bengal. It did not take much time for the Indians to understand the object behind it. It is the divide and rule policy. You see the beauty? The Indians were thinking of unifying the entire nation into one stimulant, powerful being required later on. The British were trying to divide and rule. In Panchanatra stories, you come to know the villainous jackal, it always builds up some point of confrontation between two animals and makes them fight with each other, or one becoming victim for the other. So this is what you call divide and rule. This is one method of gaining control over the territory or holding control over the people. You divide them. Lot of leaders use this particular methodology to hold their control, absolute control. Don't allow people to come together. And people started agitating. They said, we cannot. Whether we are in East Bengal or West Bengal, we speak one language. A powerful, culturally powerful, vibrant language, that's Bengali. They loved Bengali. So when people were divided into two parts, they did not tolerate. Culturally, they were one. Culturally. Hindus and Muslims, they used to celebrate many festivals together. There was no feeling of discord, separation. They never felt. They always felt we are one people, one state. Now Congress had an important agenda here, important thing. What's it? Force the British to withdraw their order and make Bengal once again a unified state. So a lot of leaders, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and all, they brought it to the notice of the British. See, they celebrate Holi together. Muslims and Hindus, they celebrate it together. They speak the same language. Their dress, culture, all these have lot of common aspects. And people of Bengal have one soul. How did you divide without asking Indians? We are hurt. Let Bengal be unified once again. So this fight went on. Lord Curzon was the viceroy who brought this. Curzon divided Bengal. By 1911, 6 years later, Bengal once again got unified. The British got forced to withdraw their order of division. Bengal got united. This was the period. A new style of leaders came into being. They are called as radicals. Moderates, earlier I spoke of moderates, who are cool, who always put forth their demands with the prayer. They prayed the British, kindly grant this, kindly get this job done, we remain thankful to you. That was the way they moved about. So there was resonance. but now discord. After the British played their dirty game of dividing Bengal, the leaders understood it well. These people are not worth of being just things put across with a prayer. You need some force, turmoil, discord, pressure, if needed, violence. So buns, rallies, fights, killing the British, all these started now after 1905. The British were the reason. The British brought about the discord. So you had a new culture of radicals now. Radicals. I can give you one more word, revolutionaries. They said, we won't demand anything. It is our right. We claim it. We get it. This is all about the division of Bengal. So here the divide and rule policy of the British was almost opposed by most of the Bengalis. And these radicals took over the moderates. Always the youth, they go by the radical philosophy. Oh, go, fight. It has that basic attraction in it. Moderates, you have to fold hands, be cool as Gandhians. You won't raise your hand. You won't fight. You will never be violent. Even if you are beaten with lathis, you get beaten. Don't get angry with them. Pardon them, those who have beaten you. Now this is moderate philosophy. Be very moderate, and moderate says ultimately we win. Moderates win. And radicals say no, the British won't understand all this. They need gun culture. Shoot, fire, kill. Let there be bloodshed. We get what we want to get done. Children, I think you are very clear about moderate philosophy and radical philosophy. These two are words we come across again and again as we study Indian freedom struggle now. So here, bringing about political awareness among people was a chief criterion of the Congress. Public meetings were held, rallies were held, processions were held throughout India to tell them what is national unity. Why should we be one country? Why should we have a heart which always prays for people coming together, staying together, working together towards a free country? So good education has to be provided to people. Our educated youth, they started saying, let us organize, let's arrange for good schools. Youth should get good education. British should bring down their military expenditure. The military expenditure of the British was raising year by year. What does it tell? They want to have an absolute control over the country. Where people don't listen to them, they will use their military might. So the pressure was there on the British to bring down their military expenditure. We cooperate with you, provided you bring down your military expenditure. Don't militarize this country. Threats were there, demands were there, prayers were there, urgent pressure was also there on the British. So now the British started feeling how difficult to hold this country together under their yoke. It was not a simple job. People were just raising their heads with one single voice, which ultimately led to demand for freedom. So programs, in order to alleviate, in order to remove poverty from India, don't take away wealth from this country all the way to England. This country belongs to us. As our rulers, you have the duty to see that the lot of the people here improves. Poverty, lingering poverty in the country. There was extreme poverty. It has to be alleviated. Poverty has to be brought down. People should be able to have a better role in the national awareness campaigns. If this is to happen, you have to do a lot of things in order to educate people and give them the needed direction and guidance. Here some of the leaders, moderate leaders, as you already know, A.O. Hume, who founded Indian National Congress, W.C. Banerjee, the first president of the Congress, then Surendranath Banerjee from Bengal, a great leader, Dadabhai Naoroji, a Parsi, Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, G.K. Gokhale, the political guru of Mahatma Gandhiji, Dadabhai Naoroji, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, the political guru of Gandhiji, they were all moderates, cool-tempered, patient. They educated people and they started taking people on their stride. They had a great influence on the masses. So the radicals had an upper hand in Indian politics after 1905. Now at this juncture, the drain theory was put forth by Dadabhai Naoroji. He wrote a book. In detail, he explained to the public, to the masses, as to how the Indian resources are getting drained. You know what is draining? We have the drainage system. Water that gets collected in the rains that is driven out. We have the drain for that. The Indian resources were getting drained to England. Resources were getting drained to England. So the theory that explained that was the drain theory. Mainly R.C. Dutt and Dadabhai Naoroji were the leaders who got the message spread everywhere. The British are making this country poorer. They are not doing anything for the alleviation of poverty here. The lot of the poor that is not being attended to by the British. Added to this, I should tell you children, those were the decades of famine. Those were the decades of drought. The rains, sometimes they flooded, sometimes there was no rain. And all the dams what we have now were not there then. So in case 1 or 2 years if rains fail, the farmers used to die out of hunger. They did not have anything to eat. And the British, they insisted that the farmers should grow only commercial crops. Food crops they were not being permitted to grow at all. Especially Bihar, Orissa, Bengal, in those areas where the land is very fertile, the British insisted on their district collectors to go around and see that all the farmers grow only indigo, jute and cotton. They don't grow anything else. You can very well make out the reason. Why? They wanted that jute, indigo and cotton to get exported to England, sent to England, because the mills require the raw materials. If the raw materials don't go from India, those mills get closed down. But when there was famine and drought, people did not have anything to eat. Can they eat cotton and indigo? They can't. Food was not forthcoming from other states because the turnout was very poor, food turnout. People did not have, even the market, there was no food. You may be ready to spend money, there was no food to eat. It was a horrific drought that swept India. Over years, these droughts and famines came again and again. and lakhs of people used to die every year. Added to these, smallpox and plague, two epidemics. They used to kill people in lakhs in Europe. In ships they came to India too, from Britain, and here it was a horrific scene. 1/3 of the Indian population got almost washed out due to smallpox. 1 year it will be smallpox. By the time the smallpox slowly gets warmed up, things cool down, you have plague. The rats start dying. And again, that will take another lot of people. And there was no family planning then. Even couples used to have 5, 6 children or more than that, in dozens sometimes. And people used to die at the same rate. Hardly children grew up into adults. Lots of children, and those in teenagers used to die. The average age of a human was only 18 years then. 18 years in India. A child born was hoped to live only for 18 years in average. Now it is 70 years. What has freedom brought us? People ask sometimes. We were happy under the British. Under the British, a citizen lived only for 18 years. Now they live up to 70 years. It is the credit we have for a democratic, parliamentary government system what we have in the country. We the people rule the country. We know what is good for the nation. Okay, now let's just pay little attention to the radicals. Aurobindo Ghosh, there's a big name. He was an ascetic. He never took the sword into his hand, but his thoughts were a great force driving people into radicalism. They all used to consider Bharat Mata. We have to see that this Bharat, this India becomes free from the clutches of the British. We have to make Bharat Mata free from the British clutches. Bipin Lal Bal Pal. You might have heard. They were another trio. They are very famous in the national scene. Lal Bal Pal. Lal, Lala Lajpat Rai. Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Pal, Bipin Chandra Pal. Lal Bal Pal. They were known as the trio. They were great radicals. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was from Maharashtra. So the British said under their acts that the Indians will be named for the British legislatures. They too will be a part of the government. But that was only namesake. The Congress poo-pooed it. The Congress said, what's the use? It's all an eyewash. We are not getting any power. A few Indians being nominated to the assemblies, British assemblies, is not going to clear all the problems we are facing. What is the use? How is it going to help the masses here? So severely, this policy was criticized by the radicals. We don't want eyewash programs. Do something challenging. Do something that directly helps the Indian masses. In action, we should understand how much you love this country. The British hardly had any love for India. It was only for the reason they were able to mint wealth here. So we studied about the Indian National Congress role in the division of Bengal. Tilak, he played a vital role in parts of Maharashtra and Bombay. Everywhere the problem was bringing the people together and making them think from a national perspective. Today you find it in India, whether you go to Assam or Punjab or Gujarat or Tamil Nadu and Kerala or come down to Karnataka, wherever we go, people say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. We are one nation. When 370 article was scrapped, it was not just the Kashmiris who were happy, the entire nation was happy. They felt as if something great has got achieved. Everyone is worried about what happens in Delhi. The rule. We need a strong center. Why do we say? We need the country to remain united. Do something very positive for the growth and development of this country. That's why, that's what it means. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Bharat Ki Jai Ho. Let this entire nation, its culture, its progress, let everything get the needed action, the requisite action, both from the government and the public in seeing that things move smoothly. Tilak started Ganeshotsav, Sarvajanik Ganeshotsav, public Ganesha. Ganesha idol was being kept in the houses and worshipped. Now, keep them in public places. Let all the people gather together. Let it take it in a procession, celebrate. Because the British always came down heavily when people came into a union and they started working against the British government. So now they said, no, it is not against the British government. It's Ganeshotsav as per our religion. But by the practice of that worship, that utsav, people came together. People came down the streets. They felt we are one. So an opportunity for people to think on a different line, a positive line. Now, Tilak started insisting on complete freedom. That mindset was injected into the people. No doubt. Tilak was arrested. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was arrested and he was sent to Mandalay jail and he was kept there. He even breathed his last in jail there. But Tilak did a very big job for this country. He was running two papers. One, Kesari, in Maratha language, in Marathi language, Kesari, and another one, Maratha, that was in English language. Two papers were being edited and run by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and both these papers had the national spirit as their theme. National spirit was the theme, and these two did a very big job. So a lot of religious celebrations were started. Shivaji's birthday being celebrated, or Durga festival being celebrated in Bengal. Now Durga festival is a big festival in Bengal. It started during the freedom movement. Those who aspired freedom for this subcontinent, they thought of a plan to inject this new idea, this theme, substance into the minds of the people. So radical thinkings of Tilak brought about a big change among the people. It galvanized people, we can say. The speeches of these great leaders, they galvanized. Not just filled them with enthusiasm, they got galvanized. They said, freedom for our country is a must. We should be free. The British arrested Tilak and sent him to Mandalay. Tilak, in the prison there, he wrote Gita Rahasya, a well-known book. He was a great literary figure too. All woven into one. There's a politician in him. There's a freedom fighter in him. He was religiously a learned man. He knew the past of India, the present, and what the future needed. Everything he was in a position to understand and get them all woven into one capsule for the people. So we have to be thankful to these freedom fighters for the big job they did then. These revolutionaries, they used violent methods. Secret associations started getting formed. A lot of revolutionaries in the country, mainly some of the names. V.D. Savarkar. He was kept in Andamans. In the Andaman jail he was kept. V.D. Savarkar, a great freedom fighter. Ashwini Kumar Datta, Rajanarayan Bose, Sitaram Rajguru, Chapekar brothers, Vishnu Shastri, Shyamji Krishnavarma, Ras Bihari Bose, Madam Kama. She stayed in Britain and France and worked for freedom in this country. Madam Kama. Khudiram Bose. He was hanged by the British. You have to read their life histories. Each one is something that the new generations of India have to read. You have these Bharati booklets, about 30-35 pages. Each one is on one freedom fighter. Bharati. There's a series of books they have. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev, they were another trio. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev, they were another trio. And all the three were hanged by the British later. They resorted to violence. Chandrasekhar Azad, he made the British Empire undergo tremors. Jatindra Das. Lots of terrorists were born. We can't say terrorists, they were all revolutionaries. Because the British had no business to stay in this country and rule. How are they connected? How can you go and hold some country under your control and earn there? You can't. So the British were told to leave this country. So we call them all as revolutionaries. So secret organizations they started. Underground. They went underground. When we say underground, it doesn't mean going underground. Underground means escaping from the notice of the government and staying in rural areas or such places where the police are not in a position to trace you, and you keep on changing your place and you do damage to the government. You collect weapons, you collect money, you enthuse people to join the movement. Lotus and Dagger gang was formed in England. Lotus and Dagger gang in England. Then Gaddar party was formed in the United States. Gaddar party. Then Abhinav Bharat and Anushilan Samiti. Abhinav Bharat and Anushilan Samiti. There were another two underground organizations, secret organizations that got formed in India. They all got acquainted to the bombs and guns culture. Bombs and guns culture. So these moderates to begin with, and later on the radicals, they gained the needed strength and control over the movement. They all filled people with the right spirit of freedom, self-rule, and that paved the way for a big struggle later on that we will be studying in the coming videos. Thank you.